To me, equality should mean true equality, not just equality when it's convenient. Not just equality only when you want it to, but it doesn't apply across the board consistently. That's horse crap. Period. Perfect example of this to me is women should have always had the same right to vote as men. But it is also ridiculous that women could vote, let's say, for politicians that support wars and ultimately put us into wars that would send people like me to go fight when I did not vote for those people that would put us into said wars, but they themselves do not have to go fight. That's crap. The right to vote is not crap. The fact that the standard is not consistent across the board is crap. And let's be realistic here, guys, and even the ladies watching, but guys especially. Let's be realistic. We have a patriarchal, male-dominated society. There is no question about that. There are so many things that are skewed towards men. There are so many things that are designed in this world to benefit men. We may have the occasional place, the occasional system that is clearly slanted in the woman's favor. See child support court. See divorce. As two perfect examples of that. Like Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. She ain't deserve no fucking $38 billion. What the fuck did she do to build that company? Like, I mean, realistically. Okay, she was married with him all those years and was there at the very beginning. Blah, blah, blah. Give me a fucking break. She did not deserve $38 damn billion. But lo and behold, she gets it. And hooray, twirl your bras in the air and throw them into the dumpster and burn them to the damn fucking fibers. It's revenge for all the ways that women get the short stick here. And they do. Which brings me to this whole concept of equal pay. It's like we hear in our current political discourse about women getting something like, what is it, like 77 cents to 80 cents on the dollar that a man makes for doing the same work, which is so misleading, it's so flawed, and it's such crap. Are there absolutely instances where men are getting paid more than women to do the same work? Sure there is. Is that due to gender alone? Is that due to these guys benefiting from a system? Is it due to, in some cases, women not better leveraging their experience and not getting the most that they can for themselves? It could be a combination of everything. It could also be, when you look at this equal pay thing, you could sit there and say that some of it is to do that if men are working more hours, they naturally are going to make more. There are things that come along with being women, like men don't have to go out for extended periods of time when a child is born. Like, women have to sit there and carry a child for 9 months, give birth to it, and then care for it. Like, there are fundamental disadvantages there. But I'm not surprised to hear this whole equal pay conversation come up again when it comes to the U.S. Women's World Cup team. They are so much more eminently successful time after time after time than the U.S. men's team. That is beyond question. The women just finished winning the World Cup again. They're back-to-back champs. They've won it multiple times. The men can't even sniff the semifinals. And in some cases, like last time, can't even effing qualify. That's a joke. That's pathetic. And that's an embarrassment. So it brings up this whole notion and conversation of these women's players for the United States that are far more successful than the men deserve to at least be paid equally to their male counterparts. To which I say, that sounds great in theory, but you have to look at the bigger picture here. If the U.S. national team organization is basing pay off of share of revenue that the Women's World Cup and the Men's World Cup generates, it is night and day, folks. There is significant daylight there. The Men's World Cup generates a vastly greater amount of overall total revenue for everybody to split up than the women's does. You don't like it? That's too bad. That's a fact, Jack. So as a result, the payouts naturally are going to be higher for the men because they draw greater numbers. They get greater attendance. There's a greater infrastructure there. They're going to get more overall money. The women, like the U.S. women, are getting a larger percentage of that overall revenue compared to the men, but the payout amounts are going to be less. But that's not necessarily inherently unfair. Like, let's look at examples where women are bigger stars and they get paid more money. Porn. Perfect example. The women are the stars. The women are what drive the porn industry. The women are the ones that are featured. The women are the ones that the different studios fight over and they try to lock into big-time, long-term, exclusive contracts. Because they are the straws that stir the drink. And all the guys is they're bringing a pole to play a role to fill a hole. That's it. Yeah, you've got the legends like John Holmes and Ron Jeremy and so forth. But at the end of the day, you can name far more female porn stars than you can men. You just can. Because they're bigger stars. And they get paid like it. They get paid more. You look at, let's say, the Winter Olympics. Men's figure skating versus women's figure skating. The women generate far greater interest. The ratings are higher for women's figure skating. It is a marquee signature event of the Winter Olympics. Those women should be getting paid more than the men. You look at the Summer Olympics, and let's take gymnastics. The women's gymnastics is a much greater overall revenue generator and ratings draw than the men's are. So the women, you would think, get paid more. And if they don't, that's a crock of shit. Because it's, again, they merit it based off of the revenue generated. It's like you hear this crap, though, about how you'll see sometimes people talk about the women of the WNBA deserve equal pay. Like, how ridiculous does that sound? The NBA funds them. It's a financial black hole for them, but they deserve the same type of pay levels as big-name NBA stars that are household names that actually generate revenue, that actually generate profit. That makes no goddamn sense. Even the whole thing about Serena Williams. Yes, I want to put 10 babies in them and go face down in her mouth every single day the rest of my fucking life. What better way could I think of to die? But the whole thing, if you talk about for years, talking about she deserves equal pay for winning at Wimbledon compared to a Federer or a Nadal, no the hell she doesn't. Number one, the women only play best of 3 sets, not 5. So this is not a case of equal pay in that particular case. It actually would be slanting it disproportionately to benefit women by sitting there and saying, you could do less work for the same money. If the women want to get equal pay, fine, let's start off by making sure the work is equivalent. Either the men come down to best of 3 sets or the women go up to best of 5. Not negotiable. Now, if you want to sit there and make an argument that Serena playing draws much more revenue and much larger share of television audience than a Federer versus a Nadal, then that could be a conversation to have, but it still doesn't change the fact that fundamentally, the women in tennis are working less than the men. So you would then be paying them the same amount for less work. It is this whole thing of this world is filled with toxic masculinity. It absolutely is. But as a counter to that, you have plenty of examples of toxic feminism. And this whole unfounded, illogical discussion about equal pay just for the sake of equal pay sounds more like an entitlement and sounds much more like toxic feminism. If you want to say, hey, they should be taking their grievances to the U.S. national team and be making the argument based off of their success, they deserve to at least be paid equal, if not more, that's a conversation to have, but it's not based off of business reality. The tournament that they're pulling from, the overall World Cups, the men's World Cup generates significantly more revenue than the women's World Cup. So then to pay the women equivalent to the men, whereas you got the women's national team losing to fucking 15 and 16 and under boys teams, seems a bit ridiculous. They are getting a vastly greater share of overall total revenue compared to the men are. Maybe the better conversation to have, instead of just trying to automatically equal out the playing field in terms of pay, even if it is not totally and truly merited based off of the numbers, based off of the evidence, is to sit there and figure out ways to better invest in women's sports in a way to better elevate women's sports programs in this country and around the world, to elevate their profile, improve their perspective, and sit there and really grow them and make them to be something viewed much more seriously. Because here is the thing. There's a lot of women that you see that'll be harping and bitching about this equal pay crap on Twitter, but then when you ask them, do they actually watch the WNBA or do they actually watch women's soccer, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to watch that. That's the whole point. You're complaining about something, but you're not doing anything to help solve it. You're not helping to do anything to fix it. If you want to be on better footing in terms of equal pay, let's figure out ways to invest in the infrastructure that helps significantly elevate the overall platform of women's soccer on the world stage. Let's get the Women's World Cup to a place where it is generating similar revenue to the men, which calls on us as men to support women's sports more, especially when we think about our wives, our girlfriends, our daughters and granddaughters and so forth. But it also calls on women to fucking support women's sports more too. Don't just bitch about it. Be a part of the change that you seek. Help to make that positive difference happen. Sitting there and just saying, well, they won and the men don't even make it, so therefore the women deserve to get paid as much, if not more, again, just doesn't really deal with the bigger issue that the Women's World Cup is generating a fraction of the freaking revenue. And no matter how many you spend that, you can't change that basic fundamental fact. That's crazy. If Serena Williams plays best of 5 sets and she generates better television ratings and she generates better attendance, I could make the argument that she deserves to get paid more than her male counterparts. Not equal. Paying male counterparts equal to her when she is driving more revenue is ridiculous to me. That would be an example of the toxic masculinity and patriarchy that is built into our system. It's not merit-based at this point. It's entitlement. We got to level it out and everybody's got to be equal. You know, opportunities should be equal. I fundamentally believe in that. It is a principle I truly believe in. But you should not be rewarded equally for differing results. Let's focus on the ways that we can help put women's sports, soccer and other sports in this country and around the world on more equal footing. Let's have men take these sports more seriously, and especially let's have women take these sports more seriously. That can help drive some of the conversation. But sitting there and just paying them more and paying them equally just to pay them equally is kind of counterintuitive to the whole element and notion of equality. Would you want women's gymnasts who generate more ratings and generate more revenue to get paid less or equal to the men? No, you'd want them to get paid more. You want their pay to be representative of their performance, as it should be. But somehow it becomes so easy to just sit there and get caught up in this thing, equal pay, and da. And we ignore the much larger factors and the much bigger context at play here.